Alright, hi guys, thanks for being so patient with me for getting this Qualtrics tutorial out. What I just wanted to do for this is help you guys get a general skeleton set up so that everyone has the same elements in their survey. So there's a couple of things we need. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just create a new Qualtrics survey so that everyone can kind of start from scratch if needed. Okay, so I'll do create new project, survey, and get started. Let's say PSYCH 303 final project skeleton. Create project. Okay. So to start, let me just delete this. So a couple of things that we need for this survey. First, we need a consent form that allows them to opt in or out of the survey. Then I've created, let's say I have an experiment with 2 levels of my IV. I'll create 2 separate blocks for each of those IVs. 1 block for my DVs, a demographics block, and then a payment code block. Some of you still had surveys that were not experimental, they were correlational. I reached out to people when I submitted grades to let you know with the drafts as well as your finals, but definitely email me or reach out during office hours so we can get this figured out. Okay, so let's start with just adding in all of the blocks that we'll need. This first one, let's name it consent block. Let's add another block and have this be condition 1. Another block that is condition 2. And again, this will change depending on how many levels of your IV you have. We'll change this one to our DV, demographics, and payment codes. So, getting started with our consent block, I just have a multiple choice question for this one, so I just add a, 1 second. Question here. And in our question text, this is where we're going to copy and paste in our consent form. You can find that on Canvas under Sections, Ellis, and Qualtrics Materials. Then I have a template for consent form, and I would just copy and paste this from the document. Now the formatting is going to be a little funny, so I would go into Rich Content Editor and just separate by like what are the bolded sections. I think that's a good place to separate things out. There's you can bold things, highlight things, whatever you'd like to do to make this readable for your participants. There are some things that you're going to need to change in this template, like anything with brackets essentially. And I would definitely make sure that this part is in bold because this is the most important part. We're letting them know that if they click the continue button, they are consenting to participate in the survey. Number of choices, let's just make this yes or no question. So we'll do yes or no. Then we'll go over to this left-hand side and we're going to scroll down and click skip logic. So from this question, if no is selected, we want to skip to the end of survey. So that would be saying that no, they do not consent to the survey, it'll just take them to the end of the survey, and we won't collect any data, any further additional data from that. Okay, so next we have our condition types. I showed you guys this in class, but there's a lot of things you can do here. Matrix table is kind of for our Likert scales. So I would assume some of you have Likert scales you're going to be adding. Those will likely be in your DV block. These condition blocks are essentially just like in that example study that I showed you guys with the sad cat versus the happy cat. These condition blocks won't really be a question. It will just be an image, a video, some scenario they have to read. Just important that you make sure that these conditions are different and that you've labeled them appropriately so you know which condition it is. Like maybe I want sad cat condition rather than just condition 1 and condition 2. It could get confusing. So these will just likely be text or graphic. You can add, if you go to rich content editor, then you can embed links and images and YouTube videos. I believe they have to be a link, yeah. So you could embed YouTube videos. And our DV is where we're going to be putting those scales like the matrix table. Something very important to remember, the demographics is where you're going to have a lot of these scale type questions. So make sure you change not only this outer box name, but also this inner box name. So I would change this to anxiety scale. And then once this exports, each of these 3 questions will be labeled anxiety scale 1, anxiety scale 2, anxiety scale 3. So that's going to help you when you're creating that composite score understand which items have to go into the composite. Payment code is just a, let's see, I would just do a text/graphic and you can just say the code can be anything. You can just make it up, and that's what they will use after they move back from Qualtrics into mTurk. That's how we confirm that their response was recorded and they actually completed the study so that they can get paid. Okay, so we have our basic skeleton here. We have the consent form, we have our 2 conditions, we have our DV block, our demographics block, and our payment code block. In our demographics block, we'll probably do a matrix table. We'll make this one the anxiety scale. Demographics, it's up to you what you choose to include. I would refer to existing surveys you may have taken. I can definitely upload some PDF files of Qualtrics surveys I've done so you can kind of see how they're formatted, but basic things, gender, race, ethnicity, age could be useful to you. It kind of just depends on what your research question is. So we have that skeleton set up. Now we're going to move over to the left and do this, click this survey flow question, or block right here. And you see we have all of our blocks presented in the order that we created them. This could be an issue because we only want to display one of these 2 conditions because we're doing a between subjects design. So we don't want to show them one condition and then show them the next condition and then take the DVs. What we'd want to do is show them one of 2 conditions and then display the DVs, demographics, payment codes. So what we'll do here is add a new element, and we're going to add it as a randomizer. And this just depends on how many conditions you have. So we'll set it, we have 2 conditions in this example. We're going to set it to condition equals 1, and then another embedded data condition equals 2. So if you have 3 conditions or levels in your IV, then you add another embedded data say condition equals 3. In our randomizer block, we only want to randomly present one of these items to your participant. Now let's move this up to right after our consent block, because we want to assign them a condition number right away. Next step we're going to do is our if blocks. So we'll click branch and embedded data. If condition is equal to 1, then we will display our condition 1 block, which is the sad cat condition. I can delete that up here because we have it displayed within the if branch. Since I have 2 conditions, I'm just going to do that again. Add condition, embedded data, condition equals to 2. And then I'll just move the second condition underneath that if branch. The final thing we want to do is make sure that our DV and demographic info and payment code is all displayed at the end after they've been assigned a condition and have seen the condition. So we're just going to move all of that down. Okay, so that is what your skeleton should look like. I won't get into, you have to click apply, by the way. I won't get into different types of your questions because we went over that in class. But like I mentioned, the conditions should be fairly straightforward for you. It should kind of just be like an image or a YouTube video or maybe a song. Your DV will be either a scale or how they perform on some kind of test. Demographics are up to you, what you choose to include.